All right. How we doing? Sorry, I got so much stuff on. This is it. We're back. I don't want to put a bunch of jacket noises in the microphone, but it is 40 degrees in here. And I think that's what the thing on the wall is saying. 40 degrees, and I've got it just about as warm as I'll get it on the propane heater. That's just ran out of fuel, so it smells real good in here. Welcome back. It's pretty crazy. We are in my shop, at my parents' house. Kind of commandeered the shop when I was a teenager for different projects, working on the old truck, four-wheelers, golf carts, parties, ping pong table right there. It's this place is a staple. It's very sentimental to me. So I thought it would be perfect. You've seen the originals from the kitchen in Danville at 491. What a place. Y'all have seen the setup in Knoxville, and now we're here. It's been off and on, and really interesting display of, I would say, my commitment and procrastination. You know, life gets in the way of a lot of things. I've wanted to achieve a lot of things in my life and forgotten about the majority of them. Hopefully the buzzing of the lights in here isn't too abrasive to your noise hearing devices called your ears. They're old. Just working with what I got in my cozy, humble abode. Nope, not in there. Need a little go-go juice here. Doing this podcast or this show, we've had some buddies on here, and of course me and Max and me and Trevor, periodically we're kind of the anchors onto it. But I want to do this, and the thing about podcasting or making a video and posting it anywhere, thing about that is that it's difficult on all platforms. It's not just platforms like YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, or X. It's difficult on all relative levels of intensity. Now, when you think podcast, you think, you got to have the mic set up and everything. You got to have your computer programs and a good camera and everything. And I overcomplicated it in the past as well. And luckily, I've had some good people around me to, hey, I've got a mic stand here. I got a mic and I got the cables and everything. You should do this. But, doing it on your own is a lot different than having a buddy right beside you. And I think that's been the toughest part of me sitting down and doing this again, is not having somebody there to do it with me. And after experiencing a lot of things in the last year and in the last few years, it's easy to realize after going through a bunch of stressful events and stuff that you are your biggest limiter. And when you stop and think about it, just think about this for a second. I was the one facilitating the podcasts in the past and the shows in the past. Not to take away any credit from any of the people that were doing the podcast shows with me. I love you guys. You guys know that. And I would pay a lot to have y'all sitting here, right here, next to me if I could. But when you realize what you're really afraid of and what is really keeping you from doing something, it becomes personal. Like, for a long time, it's like, oh, I'm not going to school with Max anymore. So obviously, getting on Zoom and continuing this would have been tough. Um, you know, Trevor's life got busy. You guys saw Perry, his life got busy. And you start getting serious with school and trying to close it out and starting your life. And that takes the wheel from different hobbies and stuff, kind of like this. But, this is kind of one thing that I've kept coming back to is, no matter how busy I am, I'm always thinking about Kickback. I'm always thinking about, like, oh, that would be a good video, or we need a shot of this, or, we need to sit down and talk about this because we could just, like, make so many good clips. But, and it's funny, that's just, like, all some people think about. But I think the most important thing is recreating the funny ass times that we've had doing this, and that's just what you yearn for, like recreating the 2.5 year or 2 year stretch we had in the Danville house at 491 in the kitchen in there, the OG videos, recreating all that fun and chasing after that. And you go, oh, I want to do it with them, or, I want to wait until they can do it, or we can get everybody down here and we'll kick it off. But no, what needs to happen is just you go out and do it. If you care so much about it, if this is something that you want to see be a thing, you go out and do it. And, that brings in a whole other layer of how... And I'm just sitting here talking about, this is, you guys may have turned this off by now, but I'm sitting here talking about how hard it was to will myself to get here and do this podcast that you're listening to. And if that's a little too, I don't know, meta for you, then bear with me because we'll move through it. We'll move through it pretty quick, or you can skip ahead for a few minutes. But the point I'm trying to make is that there's layers to how scary something is, and there's intensity layers to self-realization of, like, what's keeping me from doing this. And it's fear of being alone in front of this camera and talking to you guys. It's, chasing that camaraderie of, hey, this was something I did with my boys, and, now everybody's so busy, it's tough to get people together for it. And it might not be something that other people want to do as much as I do. So, because it works, because it's so important to me, I think over the past couple weeks, I've convinced myself, next chance you get, it just has to happen. You got to get up there and talk about something. Or not up there, sit in there, up in the shop. And we're going to talk about something. We're going to hang out for a minute and kind of catch up. I know I probably look a little different. I probably sound a little different. You've seen me in and out of long hair, I guess. We got the flow going on because it's wintertime and it keeps my dome cold. I got to keep this tiny brain all warmed up at 94 degrees Fahrenheit. Oops. And I'm just happy. It's like going to the gym. Like, I love the gym, and I'm sad that I don't have enough time to give myself more time in the gym. But, it really is one of those things where it's like rolling the stone up the hill, and, your first 2 weeks of going to the gym are rolling that stone up the hill. You're trying to hit your 4-day, gym weeks. I try to hit my arms, my chest, my back, my legs. And I mix things in there, like core always stays in there. Mobility training, stretches, all that kind of stuff always stays in there. But those are the 4 main days, and so if I can get through those 4 main days 2 weeks in a row, I'm I'm carrying momentum. I'm over the peak. I've pushed that rock over the peak where it's now rolling downhill. It's not rolling downhill fast. The longer you do it, the faster it keeps rolling downhill, and it's harder to break that momentum. But that's what I'm hoping it is here. Um, you know, willing yourself to get up, put yourself out of your comfort zone, go to the gym, pick up those weights. It's gonna hurt. It's gonna be weird. It's gonna be rusty. Not saying I ever got good at this. Not saying I was ever a Joe Rogan at this. But I wanna try, and I want the opportunity to give people a voice that normally wouldn't be heard by a lot of people. I don't think I necessarily want to throw on the biggest uh, movie stars and musicians and politicians, but obviously we'll, work to that point. But I think there could be a lot of value in taking regular people off the street and asking them what the heck they think about the world and getting their point of view. Like, one thing I've noticed with all the different people that I've met in the last couple of years is that, you look at somebody and you have absolutely no idea what's going on in their brain or the crazy perspectives that they could have tied into their world. So kind of been stewing on a few ideas for a little bit, and I'm sitting here like habitually like I don't want to take up too much of y'all's time, but I'm about to take up an hour of it. At least I'm going to try to take up an hour of it. Give me a break, buddy. Give me a break for a second. I'm going to rip this cancer stick. And it's 1%. People that know me, I'm like, oh, man, that sucks. I'm pretty much out. God, what an addiction. People that know me, they're like, so you're vaping for no reason? And it's like, no, not really. Like, I'm vaping and zenning on the lowest percentage possible so that I can try my best to get to the point where I'm least reliant on it as possible, if that makes sense. I'm thinking that, like, if I can keep hitting like 1% pods, that I'm not even going to feel it, and then I'll wake up one day and just forget about the views and just go to work without it and just be like, oh, I left it, like midday, checking my pockets. Oh, I left it. Oh, I guess that means I'm done. That's kind of how I envision that going. I've quit a couple times before, and then you just get roped right back into it. You get around friends and you get around different people that always have it, and it's a comfort thing. Like, oh man, what's up? We're hanging out. Oh, let me hit that. You always got the fiend. You always got the Zins or whatever. You get back into that, and then you hang out with that person, and you're like, I might as well just buy my own nicotine if I'm going to be hanging out with them. Whether it's your job or school that you're doing or just hanging out with friends. Like, there's so many difficult factors that play into nicotine addiction. And I think that it's all bad and nobody should smoke anything. No, there's productivity benefits to nicotine, and I think it brings a lot of people off of a ledge that can't really be explained. Like, it's not like, oh, I'm, just having withdrawals out of my mind, and not even that. Like, you could need nicotine, I think. You could need nicotine and never have smoked or secondhand smoked anything in your life. Because somebody who's not taking nicotine could hit the nicotine. Let's see what kind of movement we get. I kind of want to sit back here. Let's see what kind of movement we can get on this. Anybody who's like never hit the nicotine before, And then they pick it up and they're like, I'm going to try this real quick. You know, maybe at a party or something. It's got to be like melting. I think that's how it was. I was in senior year of high school when I'd packed a lip of dip before just to try it, and I was like, yeah, that's disgusting. Now, a can of Kodiak, it's like, God, it's like drinking, fine aged wine. You don't get that a lot because I don't like to do it a lot. I don't want the results of that. Um, but I could do a lip of dip and not like it enough to where you just don't get hooked. But you go spend the night at your buddy's house one day in senior year, and he's got a new jewel that just came out, and everybody's hitting them, and you're like, "That's stupid. Give me that." Like, let me rip this, just see what you're talking about, and then you just melt into the couch, and you become one with the cotton packed inside the cushions, and everything in your life has completely fallen into place for 30 seconds to 2 minutes. And then nothing will ever be as perfect as that. There'll never be another hit of a Juul or a Views or a cigarette or a Zyn. There'll never be a buzz like that. I think if everybody in the world, not everybody in the world, I think if everybody who's ever smoked anything could go back to their first hit, I would recommend their first hit of nicotine be a mint 5% Juul pod. Man. And I know there's a lot of people who still pay, they pay a good bit of money to have those mint Juul pods still. There's some places where they're not restricted on flavors and everything. I never really got into that. They just said, oh, you can only have menthol. And I was like, I'm kind of on the Zins now anyway. Big wintergreen Zyn guy. The sixes, obviously, they taste better. Wintergreen Zins are the peak level in the hierarchy of Zyn flavors. But I'm coming about that time where, all of a sudden you're about to be 24, and as depressing as it is, it feels like, and I'm probably wrong, because a lot of people have told me that your 30s are your best years, but it feels to me like there's a lot of pressure to figure it the fuck out, You're acting like a child, hitting your vape, and, you can't go out and have a Wednesday through Saturday bender anymore. Not that that was a giant thing to do, all the time, but it's periodically. You can cut loose if your schedule of classes it's just lined up like that. It's like, twist my arm. Like, as Max would say, I'm not good at no, which would just be so good right there. But we had lots of fun, and I believe there's lots of fun to come. But there's also that weighing feeling of, you need to do something and be something and take yourself more seriously. I think I take myself pretty serious. This is just going to be an hour of me saying something and then doubting that and then doubting that and then moving on. This is and one of the harsh realities as we weave this wide web, one of the harsh realities there's something in the ceiling. There's probably like a squirrel or a bird or a possum in the ceiling. And it's scratching around over there. The shop is back in the woods. It's pretty big. We're over here in the back corner. I built these chairs, and I'll get. We're bouncing around. I built these chairs out of the Buick Grand National OG seats. So obviously these are the seats that came out of the car, unbolted them, put the racing seats in from NRG, and made this stand here so that we can have a little hangout spot. There's a ping pong table right here, good spot to watch the boys rack it up there. Foosball table, card table, we sit at and play some games and everything. So lots of good times in here. You know, pretty good spot right here for a little recording. I'm in the driver's seat, obviously, and I can have whatever passenger or guest that I'd like. So I think I'll use this spot in the future, of course. I can't promise that every episode will be here because I'd like to make this a little bit of a traveling thing. And as we move forward throughout potential future episodes, I mean, me doing this alone could become a thing, or me doing this alone could fade off and I have a guest every time. But I think this is valuable here because, it requires a person to overcome a lot to sit down and do this with a single person. I know a lot of people do it. But, a lot of those people are already some type of influencer. They have a following, or, they're a comedian. And I try to give myself a credit like that, when in reality, those people are just as human as I am, and they had to start in the same exact place. So it's really a matter of whether you start or whether you don't. And you either start and you're really bad at it and you recognize that really fast and you move on with your life because you're not an idiot that's just going to, be the definition of insanity and doing something the same way over and over, just really bad, and expecting to, blow up from it, or get a following. But I think that'll show its head pretty quick if I'm, absolute dog shit at this, which I could be. But losing train of thought. Everybody's got to start somewhere. The greats all were sitting in the same position that you and I do every day, thinking about that one thing that we want to do, that we're just scared to start because we're scared of failing at it and giving up again. The one thing that, not the one thing, I've explained like 5 things. Another thing that kept me from doing this is the commitment thing. I was kind of embarrassed. Who tries to start a YouTube channel with like multiple episodes coming out a week right off the bat? We did our 1 a weeks. Max and I did, and Trevor and I did for a few weeks, and it worked out okay. It was fun. It got hard to be consistent as schedules get busier and everything. I think the winter time is a good. I just think I fall back to this in the winter because I've got nothing to do when it turns dark at 5 o'clock. Doesn't that just suck so bad? I feel like the past few weeks I've been doing nothing but bitching about how it gets dark so fast and I can't go hit balls in the evening. I get off work. By the time I leave my office, it's dark. I got nothing to do. I don't have a gym membership right now since I came back from school. I don't have the racing simulator is out of order right now. There's some things that need to be loaded onto it, so I haven't been able to take up my time with that. What we have been doing is building a chicken coop. Now, why the heck would we be building a chicken coop? Well, I'll tell you. You really only need to eat 2 foods throughout your days. Everything else is supplemental. But you really only need eggs and steak. And kind of just I'm kind of falling on the side of why would you why would you eat anything else? And I can explain that here. Growing vegetables and wheats and fruits, that's always been a thing because it's sustenance. Like you eat an apple, you fill your tummy, you get the benefits from the apple, right? And it's a different flavor and it's refreshing. And you can just plant a tree and they grow. They grow. But if you zoom out a little bit, think about when we weren't able to grow. Like we didn't have the capability, the mental capability to commit to farming or the knowledge to apply to farming. And other than a bunch of berries and stuff that people found and they picked, hunter gatherers and everything, I would have to assume that most of their energy was spent hunting meat. And it's an interesting instinctual thing there. Granted that that is true. um, but when you look at how plants break down different proteins and minerals and nutrients, really any type of nutrients, plants don't break down that much. Plants don't really digest the nutrients. Like you can't just pour calcium into the dirt and then the plant absorbs it and its calcium deficiency is gone. It has to be processed by the dirt and by the microorganisms and the worms in the dirt to process. They like the worms. A worm will eat food and its body will fix and process the nitrogen and phosphate and carbon and all of that. It'll automatically do it. It'll eat the good stuff in all the dirt and then poop out this ready-made package for the plant to eat. And my brother explained this to me because he's started his worm farm, and we're big into farming now because we want to grow some crops and we want to get into canning, and we're building this chicken coop. And I'm circling back to the chicken coop, but worms actually are like a symbiotic. They have I think that's the term, symbiotic relationship. It's a mutually beneficial relationship with plants. And how that works is the worms, like I said, they eat the good stuff in the dirt and they poop out a ready-made package with broken down nutrients ready for the plant to absorb straight into its roots. It doesn't have to do any digesting process or anything like that because it can't. It can't do that. And if the minerals that you introduce to your soil, if you just let them sit there, it would take years for them to decompose into a digestible form for your plants. So what worms and microorganisms do is they break those down and they serve it to your plant. And worms will legitimately, squeaky chair, they'll trace down the roots of the plants in your garden or in your yard and eat the dirt along the edges of your plant's roots, pooping out what they need, what your plant needs, and in return, your plant is excreting a sugar into the soil that the worms really like and that they need to digest all of the other things that are in the dirt. It's so cool. Like, plants and worms just have a relationship, they benefit each other in a system. It's not just by chance. They both like what the other one does. They have a system together, and it's starting to get colder. It's down to in the 30s now. Um, yeah, I've gotten significantly colder, so we're gonna have to have a lot more propane tank than last time. But that's the cool thing about the worms is that they they break down all the nutrients and provide it to the plant so the plant doesn't have to do the work. The plant knows where it's getting its food from the dirt right there. And the worm just helps and presents it to it and breaks it down for it to digest it easier. So we can relate that to humans and meat. You know, you want to promote a vegetarian diet. You want to promote being a vegetarian. You want to promote being a vegan. How about this? How about the idea that birds and bugs and mammals, anything on the earth that's not a human, was designed solely for the purpose of breaking down nutrients into the easiest digestible form for humans? What if that's the whole thing? All the way from the plankton in the ocean to the whale to the fish that eat the whale shit, I don't know, that gets eaten by the bear eating the salmon, and then it filters into the land and everything like that. Every animal that's eating something or eating another animal. Think about a rabbit eating carrots and vegetables, and deer eating fruits and anything they can get their jaws on, and plants breaking down and growing from dead animals and stuff. The nutrients that they pull and give and pull and give and pull and give, those, it's just breaking those nutrients down until we finally, harvest that deer or harvest that cow or, harvest that rabbit. And their meat is holding all of the vitamins and all of the nutrients that is essential to our body. And it was given to us by the guy who designed it all. How, like, you can't tell me that doesn't make sense. But how crazy is that? How crazy is it that somebody would look hundreds of degrees of separation to get these riboflavins into a rabbit through, I don't know, lettuce or a carrot or the tomatoes that I was growing in my garden that they ate. What if we were supposed to get those nutrients from those animals, breaking those nutrients down into the easiest digestible form for our bodies? I've never looked at a vegan or a vegetarian and said, well, they look completely healthy. Like they don't. I mean, unless they're taking like a shit ton of plant proteins, which if you want to just go ahead and inject estrogen into your body, that's okay. You can just go ahead and do that if you want to drink and eat plant proteins all the time and your soy burgers and shit. But I can't think of one person that's looked at me and been like, yeah, I'm vegan, or yeah, I'm vegetarian. And you sit there and consider and go, I might, they look good. I might consider doing that. No, never. Like, you put any vegan ever next to Joe Rogan, who eats eggs and steak only now. Tell me who you'd rather look like. Tell me whose body mass index that you'd rather have. Their body fat percentage. A vegan might not be fat, which is a good chance of them. A lot of them are, is because they're eating a bunch of fake stuff if they're not just eating fruits and vegetables. but they might not be fat, but their bones are skinnier, their muscles are non-existent, really. I mean, just you could look at them and they're just like their arm is like this. It's there's clear advantages to having your meat consumption and getting your real proteins like our creator intended. And I think that there's a lot, I think that I have a lot of self-doubts, and I'm my biggest critic, of course. Um, a little bit of cognitive dissonance in there, like, oh shit. But you really have to be good at convincing yourself of stupid shit. If you can sit back and say, oh, the things that my ancestors have been eating for tens of thousands of years, fuck that. I know more than them. They only survived thousands of generations, but fuck them. I'm just going to sit here and eat my leaves. And I'm going to force my kid to only eat these leaves and grains. And they'll just grow up 90% made of plants. That's where pussies come from, dude. that's where pussies come from. Just being made of grain. I put a lot of thought into that. What are you going to feed your kid? I guess that's something that changes when, you're doing this when you're 21 years old and you're talking about dumbass shit, what you had to drink and all the crazy times. But then, you get up, god dang, you're almost 24 years old now. And you got to start thinking about where you're going to live and what kind of house you're going to have and what kind of kids you're going to raise and what you're going to feed them and what your curriculum is going to be like. And, you got to be planning that out, and you can't let it sneak up on you. But it is a crazy kind of shock of reality where it's like, this is what's on my mind now. I'm thinking about, what diet I'm going to have my kids on. I feel so bad sometimes because I'm like, man, I wish my parents knew the things that I know about diets and food quality and, what they're putting in these foods with all the preservatives and chemicals and dyes and what this does to kids, and thinking back on my career as a scholar, and brain development, and when I got, what my diet was, when my good habits were, and when I got vaccinated going up through school, and how that affected me. That's a lot of interesting thought. If you can remember it and remember how you felt, I've got certain health effects that took place around the times that I was like, oh, you got to get these vaccines to go to this school. And then, you get up into this grade and you got to get these. And then you go to high school, you got to get these. And it's like, what are you putting in my body now? But I think the biggest new thing that I'm happy to see is parents waking up and being like, we got to stop pumping our kids full of chicken nuggies because it's the easiest thing to come home from work, slap in the microwave and toss some ketchup down on the plate and then, hey, eat the chicken nuggies. I don't even know if it's chicken, but it, sure looks like it. I don't think that's the best route to go for parenting or for your kids' health. And I think a lot of us can give our parents the benefit of the doubt because they didn't know any better. I mean, they grew up, their parents were slapping blocks of Spam on the counter and just being like, eat up. It's like grinded up chicken gizzards and feet and shit. Or whatever it is. Don't quote me on that. Sorry, guys. I didn't want to hurt your brand there. I don't know what's actually in it, but that's I don't know. I think I heard somewhere that that's what's in it. That might be hot dogs, but nonetheless, there's preservatives in it. There's preservatives in a lot of the stuff that our parents were eating, and fake stuff and fillers, and it's only gotten worse since then. And they just look at it as food. Like, if I can buy it from the grocery store, why would they be trying to hurt me? Sound familiar? Sounds pretty familiar. Sounds a lot like the grocery store could be a certain governing body over a large amount of people, maybe 300 or 400 million people. Why would they be trying to hurt us? We're just buying products from them and contributing to their society. Why would they? They wouldn't. They wouldn't do anything to us. They wouldn't try to hurt us. We're their friends. You my friend, Danny? Judge smells. Ugh. So I think with the chicken coops coming into play, our plan is probably going to be establishing, like, okay, we've got our eggs coming in, eating at least one a day. You need at least one egg a day and some type of meat, whether it be chicken or steak. I don't really prefer pork anymore. I don't think any part of the pig is really that great for you. And prove me wrong, please. Maybe like the tenderloin with the ribs, of course. Ribs are awesome. Tenderloin is good. Bacon, amazing, not good for you. But I really think the most health benefits, what we were made to digest, is primarily that red meat. Kind of got the hiccups going on. That red meat might be the key to, hey, this is what your body was meant to digest. It has everything sitting right here for you, and it just zaps right in. There's no breakdown process. There's no weird thing that, you got to shit out whole pieces of corn. You're not getting. Why do I have the hiccups right now? Why do I have the hiccups? You're not getting any benefit from a piece of corn. Why are we eating it? If we use corn to make other stuff, why are we eating pieces of corn? Because when I sit on the shitter, the corn's coming out. Everybody's seen it. Everybody's doing it. I'm not just the only one. Everybody's doing it. The corn's coming out. And if it's coming out in whole pieces of corn form, like if you just ate a marble and then you look out a day later and the marble's in the toilet, you didn't digest the marble. You didn't get any of the nutrients from the marble. You didn't get any nutrients from the piece of corn if the corn comes out completely whole. There's no breakdown process of that piece of corn. Why are we eating the corn like raw? Or not raw, but cooked, but whole, not mashed up into little tiny bits. Part of another plate, just an ingredient in another plate, or an ingredient in a drink or a fuel that we're burning in our car. That's another gripe I got with the food industry. It's corn, apparently now. Oh man, let's see if we can get. I've got these pair of channel locks here. These are channel locks. Tool of the day. Channel locks. These things are like regular pliers, but they're angled like that to get in different spaces. And they open up and slide back and forth. You can get a big bolt or a big surface, or you can slide it closed and get these pair of kind of shitty. What the? Well. So it can't go all the way closed because it's just old, but then you can go to a smaller surface. So I'm going to use this smaller one. We're going to try to open this bottle of Corona and cap this thing off here. So let's see what kind of damage we can do here. Yep. Got that one. Cheers, boys. You know me, sitting in the driver's seat. Don't do that. We're not moving. We're not in the car. Well, we got that off. But the thing about the chicken coop, we're building up one over at my brother and his girlfriend's place. We have one here at my parents' house, or my dad's house. And we're also building one over at my mother's house. Now, why is this important? Well, I personally think it's important because it teaches you a lot. And it's like the entry level to any farming. Like you can grow plants. If you have land, you can grow plants. But you got to have commitment to take care of some animals. And chickens are, I would say, some of the lowest maintenance, highest yielding animals that you can take care of. You just put food in their bin, and they make these huge things that auto dispense the food as they eat it. So you can put like a week's worth of food in their thing, and they're good. Same thing with the water. I mean, my chickens drink a ton of water for some reason. But we have 2 of those canisters, and we fill them up every few days, and they just drink on it until it's empty. And you check on them daily. You're not going to let them go for a week, 2 weeks without being checked on, because you got to go in there and you got to pick up your eggs. You got to want the eggs. And the difference between store-bought eggs and the eggs that I'm pulling out of our hen house right now, indescribable. You can't describe it. I don't think there's ever been eggs like, let's see, what am I reaching for here? I don't think I have it. Well, that's a bummer. I don't think there's been a reason to tamper with eggs ever, other than to make more money. Like, there's nothing that I could ever ask for these 100% natural eggs to change about them. I don't want them to last longer. I don't want them to be bigger. I don't want them to be a different color. I don't want my hens to be ungodly massive so they produce more meat. I want the most... Sorry, guys. Didn't bank on the old laptop dying there. It's running the audio. Sorry, I'm a little rusty at this. Should have prepared for that, but it's okay. I hope the audio is still okay. I think what we were on, the eggs, the natural way to have eggs, it's the best. They cook different, they taste different, they look different. They're better. Without all the added hormones, without all the shit done to the chickens, that blowing them up and making them poop out 3 eggs a day. No. 1 egg a day. You got 4 people in your house. Okay, maybe 5. However many people in your house. Match that number with chickens. Chickens. And just feed them your table scraps. Don't buy food. Don't buy chicken food. You don't have to. Just feed them your table scraps from the meals that you cook. Don't give them Bojangles and don't give them McDonald's. Give them things that you cook. Like if you have broccoli scraps or steak scraps or chicken scraps or eggshells or any veggies, any fruits, cuttings, any waste that is edible, that is natural food, give it to them. They turn it into more food for you. That's the coolest part about it, is that it's like a garbage disposal system that naturally deworms with what I learned is pumpkins. I crack a pumpkin open and I throw it in their pen and it deworms them. And like similar with like apple cider vinegar or something. it's all so crazy, the natural ways you can take care of these animals and the natural ways you can take care of yourselves just by eating real things and putting real things in your body that wasn't made in a lab or made in some fucking test tube, you know? You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm fucking saying. But if we have, if my family has 4 people and then my brother's family has 4 people, let's just ballpark that. Obviously we can't plan everything perfectly, or we don't know what we'll want at that time. I meant want 3 or 4 kids. Who knows? But, if each person in your group, if each of you have enough chickens, 1 per person in your house, theoretically, you will never have a day where there's nothing to eat because there will always be an egg to eat. And there's so many things that you can make with eggs. You're not going to be eating eggs every single day because you'd get tired of them. But gotta tell you what a good routine. What a good morning routine to just wake up and know that you got, your farm fresh eggs down there. You got some bacon to go with them and some toast or maybe some steak to put the eggs on top of. Man. No better way to start or end your day. I ended my day with a piece of steak, 2 eggs, and some noodles. Some cheese-filled noodles. Not a lot. Not a lot of noodles. You don't want to overload that. But 2 eggs and a piece of steak doesn't get better than that. It doesn't. There's no more fulfilling meal than 2 eggs and a piece of steak. And some cheese. God damn it. There ain't no better thing. So, and this goes with everybody in the world. If everybody could just have as many chickens as there are people in their house, and maybe 2 goats, get some milk, maybe a cow, a 1 milking cow with your goats. Maybe a sheep in there for some wool. But, all of these animals, you don't have to have a whole farm. If you have an acre of land, you can just have like 1 or 2 of these animals, and you can get milk, you can make butter, you can make cheese, you can have oils, you can make shampoos. The big thing in the farmers markets is like goat's milk shampoo, goat's milk conditioner, all these natural soaps and everything that are better for your body than the detergents that people are selling. And I sound like some infomercial right now, but I mean, the proof is in the pudding. Look at the ingredients inside all of this stuff. And if we just went back half a rotation to where everybody had these animals in their yard, we would be perfect. Pollution would be non-existent. Food waste and garbage waste would be slashed through the floor. And I think there's been other people that have talked about this if everybody had chickens, but I think about my grandfather, Paul, who used to tell me about him and his 7 siblings. Obviously, they weren't all at home at the same time. When he was coming up, I think his oldest siblings were out of the house, but there was a good few of them there with his mother and his grandmother in the outskirts of the city, like a suburban area of a pretty urbanized city. And city's a stretch. It's Roanoke. We're talking about Roanoke, Virginia. Now it's a city. Back then it was probably just a booming town. Now it's like a booming town. It's not really like a city, but you go down there and they've got the tall buildings and the blocks. So I guess it is. It's a city, the city of Roanoke. But he lived pretty smack dab in the middle of all the action and everything, and they had a decent enough little yard back there where his mom always had a cow that they would keep in rotation for milk, and chickens that she would get the eggs from. She would, or they all would, really. My grandfather would be a kid and remember going out and plucking the chickens and, helping butcher them and dress them and cook them because that's what their food was. The chickens they raised was what their food was, and the eggs they ate, and the milk they got from the cow. And when they slaughtered the cow, they ate all that meat for a long time. They ate off of that for a long time, and that's just how it was normally. Not everybody had to be totally reliant on grocery stores or other, you know, oh, I'll wait for the farmers to spit some of that out, oh, I got to wait for the the grocery store to get more, cuts of bacon from the farmers. No. You got that shit yourself. Just have one. Just have one cow for milk. I think it's doable. And I'm going to find out. I mean, I've seen people doing it. But I want to do it. I want to get in on the action. I think that's the best environment to raise your kids in. I don't think they need to be cooped up in an apartment, playing in a city, not learning anything about the real world around them. The real world around us is the animals and the plants and the things that physically exist naturally with us that will always be here. Cities and concrete and the cars and the, whatever people get into when they're growing up in the city. Like, what do? You play tag, like, in the city streets? I grew up just, like, running around in the woods and, I don't know, finding dumb shit to get into that wasn't hurting anybody because there wasn't anybody around, riding four-wheelers and shooting squirrels and building forts. That kind of stuff is, I would say, par for the course for a lot of kids in this area, I would say. But when you go to urban areas, like in the cities, I think when I was at school living in Knoxville, you kind of look around and be like, oh, so I have to drive my car over to this government-owned piece of property to be able to experience, like, the woods and, like, walk on this trail that everybody else walks on. And I'm not going to see anything new because everybody's seen it already. No. That doesn't feel right. It feels right to me when I'm walking the land that nobody really owns. There's, I guess, the government owns state parks and everything, but around here people can own land, but you can just go walking. You can just go walking through the woods, and, like, if you're in somebody's woods, they're not going to come back there and just be like, harassing you. Just don't be doing anything wrong. Don't be doing anything stupid. But, I grew up going and walking as far as I wanted to, riding as far as I wanted to on the four-wheelers and stuff, and knowing my limits. You naturally learn your limits and how far you can go and how far you want to go. You develop that internal compass that tells you, oh, something's not going right, or, maybe I should turn back. You develop that real quick. But when you're, if you're growing up on city blocks in a high-rise apartment or something, it doesn't have to be a high-rise apartment, just like, urban area, you never get that sense of adventure that's like going out into the woods, like that isn't with training wheels on. If you go to the park and they have walking trails, that feels like nature with training wheels to me. It's not the same. It's like, it doesn't have to be like anything. I just said it. It's like riding a bike with training wheels. It's like kissing a girl, but you both watch a YouTube video on how to properly kiss for the first time. Like you're finally kissing that one chick for the first time, but she's like, "We need to know how to do this right. Like we need to watch a YouTube video on how to do this because I'm not letting you do this wrong and get this wrong for me." So you have to watch a YouTube video to, get it right. But no, that's not what the world is about. That's not what natural nature is about. It's about getting it wrong. Everything is imperfect. Nothing is a perfect square. Everything is round. Everything is natural. Everything follows the laws of nature, the yin and yang, the give and the take, the grit of it all. It's all so soft and peaceful and amazing at the same time as it's terrifying and hard. Just like nature is hard. That page. I mean, shit's brutal. It was beautiful. But yeah, I think if we could rewind a little bit, right in the middle time, like not before we learned how to farm, and not when everybody was living right on top of each other farming the same things, which I do like the idea of. I like living in a little community like that where everybody farms together, and just like little communities like that can be scattered around all the land. But even your suburban areas where everybody's got a half-acre lot, you should have 4 chickens back there running around your yard. You should have, rows of crops that you're picking on throughout the year. And you're fertilizing and, doing all your love to them, because I think it's a good building thing. It's going to be a good building block of my family. Spending time together, taking care of the land and the animals, reaping the benefits of it, showing them what they're capable of with their bare hands, and teaching them in case I'm never around, or in case I go get some milk one day and never come back. No, I mean, you can't plan for shit to happen, so you gotta prepare them as fast as you can. I mean, way back there was people starting their own farms and getting married and going to live on their own when they turned 12, 10, 11, 12, getting chicks pregnant and stuff. It's like, what, we've changed a lot. Now I'm like, I got to wait until I'm 30 to have a kid because I'm not going to be ready for it. And then there goes half of your life. It's just being ready to start your life, I think. And that's today's Doritos Insight of the Week, brought to you by Adam Ray. And that's Doritos Joke of the Night. Those clips kill me. And I don't think anybody's being like as transparent about this as I think they can. I think we are in the golden age of comedy and comedians and stand-up. Like, we are about to enter into a revolution of free speech as all of these comedians are bouncing back from being canceled and being shit on and just being slandered every chance they can get and roasted here and there. Fuck it all. Put it behind you. Go say what you want to say. Do what you want to do. Make the points that you want to make. And make it... It's funny because it's true. A lot of the stuff is funny because it's true. You know what I'm talking about. You can all think about jokes that is like people freaked out about. But they only freaked out about it because it's so fucking true. I don't know. Hate me for it. I'll give it to them. I think we're in the best time for comedians ever because we've got like Kill Tony going on, which is a weekly Christmas. I mean, just a mystery box of what could happen that I think is growing exponentially every week now. You've got the dogs from Matt and Shane's Secret Podcast coming together and just killing whatever they touch. Like, being so funny in any environment, whether it meshes with their personality or not. Matt, primarily Matt and Shane, whether things mesh with their immediate personality or not, they always find a way to just be funny as hell and always find a flow. It's awesome. And then you got Joe Rogan, who is just the like president right now, it seems like, of comedy and independent, I would say independent, influential speakers. Because I think comedians are now graduating from a point to where like nobody gives a shit what they say. They're just some funny guy, to these guys are saying real shit that nobody else is kind of having the balls to talk about or say. And they're only having the balls to do it because they feel like they can lean back and go, it's just a joke, dude. Like, it's comedy. But there's a point there. There's a point in all of it. And it wouldn't be funny if there wasn't a point. So, in a sense, I mean, comedy is just kind of a platform, a scapegoat, if you will, to say what you want to say and not get in trouble for it. Which is such a smart way to spin it. And I think Joe Rogan actually invented comedy, now that I think about it. I mean, wouldn't he be the only guy to think about a concept that complex and get away with it? But no, it's the comedy scene. Very cliche term, I know, but I'm very interested in it because there's so many different points of view right now and people talking about so many different things, like real thoughts. It's not just like somebody paid to get up there and tell you, oh, think this and believe this, and oh, this is going on, this is definitely true. These aren't pictures from 8 years ago that we've been waiting to use for this moment just to distract you from something else going on. These are real people who are talking just like this every week about things that they're interested in and things that they're worried about, things that they want to see change, things that they think were funny. And that transfer of information, raw information, unedited, unadulterated, uncut, raw information coming from somebody's mouth and their special brain with all those perspectives in there and predispositions. That's the most valuable thing on the internet right now. And the thought of almost losing that was very scary. And you can be like, I'll be like a blue-haired liberal or something. And just be, oh, that's very scary. Donald Trump's gonna get into office and he's gonna lock up all the women and take all their rights away. That's very scary. I'm gonna cry. Oh my God! And make all my TikTok and Instagram videos about me crying and screaming because he might be president. Well, yeah, he is your president now. Suck it up. But scary in a way that's like, wow, this thing that's completely out of my control will dictate my future because these people that claim to be Democrats are like, I sat and watched Hillary Clinton in front of a video camera saying we need to, like, literally, she said the word censor. We need to censor the things that people can say on social media. We need to censor the information. Misinformation, malinformation, and disinformation. Misinformation and disinformation are apparently just wrong stuff meant for fear mongering and shit like that. But malinformation is a new term that they're coming out with where it could be or could not be true, but the government does not want you talking about that because, you know, it doesn't make them look good. So they can just coin a new term for it and then start enacting upon it. Just say, shut the fuck up. It's like, who gave these people the right to do this? When, back in the day when we were like, hey, you guys handle, just tell us what the other people are telling you guys. Just represent us. We'll tell you how we feel about international stuff, how we want to run our country, how we want to be represented in our taxes and everything. We'll tell y'all how we want it. Put it in place. Report back to us on how's it going, and we'll meet on it every now and then, and we'll, go like that. It's a representative democracy, and we'll, they didn't get paid a lot. They didn't get paid at all, I don't think, in the beginning. They got, coverage and stuff and places to sleep, but it was a volunteer effort in the beginning to represent your town and then eventually represent your state on another level in front of all of these representatives from the country. And it's so hard to think about how in the fuck we ended up at the point where it goes from you work for me for free because you want this country to be good, and we'll rotate in and out doing this for free, and we'll be transparent with one another because we have each other's best interest in mind because we're all Americans, to you voted me in because I lied to you about the things that I believed in and the things that I wanted to do. And then now I'm going to completely disregard everything I promised you I was going to do, everything I said I stood for, everything I said I stood for 20 years ago in that one video, and I'm going to do whatever I want and enforce any restrictions I want against you, and you're not going to be able to do anything about it. Oh, and I'm taking at least a third of your paycheck, and you're going to be fucking happy about it. Could you imagine somebody like your manager at your work telling you that to your face and you just being like, okay. Okay, dude. Sounds good to me. You guys take care of the scary people and, I'm just a regular person. You guys are superheroes. No, we're all regular fucking people. Those people are no better than anybody around here, anybody watching this. No better than me. Like, this weird Hollywood idea of, there's these untouchable people who can't be held accountable for the ungodly things, the unthinkable crimes and sins they've committed that will never be known about and will never be brought to justice because it's just like, they said we can't. How does that work, dude? How, I don't, I could go on that for a long time, but man, seems like we've reached a good spot. I think we're under a good understanding with each other getting back into this, and yeah, it has dropped 10 degrees and I'm freezing my balls off, but I'm having a good time with you guys, and I think this was good for me to do. And I think you'll learn why in future episodes, but I appreciate you watching to this point or listening to this point, and I think it's a big deal if I get anybody on here that used to watch the videos and wants to give any input of how things might have changed or, what they might have thought when they saw a video posted or something. That'd be fun. That's fun. It's fun to think about, I might just hang out here for a minute. hang out with you guys. And if you want my input on anything, or I don't know who I'll have with me next week. It might just be me. It might be me and a buddy or something like that. But if you guys want to hear anything talked about, then let me know. I'll give my small caveman brain input on it, and you guys can just roast me however you want, because I really don't care. You'll probably be roasting me in this video. No, you won't. Everybody was always nice. I mean, we did some dumb shit too, but everybody's always nice. They either have good things to say or not saying anything at all. So I think that's a really good thing to live by. And, anybody who watches the Kickback, anybody who's a part of the Kickback, anybody who's kicking back with us, I think we can all take that to heart. Don't say it if it's not nice. Just don't say it. Unless it really needs to be said. Like some guy could, your homeboy could have like a gnarly unibrow, and it's not nice to point it out. But you could also just pull him to the side and just be like, hey, dude, you need to go take care of that. Because that's a nice way to do it. You take an unnice thing, like, hey, I know it's not too polite that I'm noticing your unibrow, but I'm being nice about pulling you to the side and not embarrassing you in front of all of our friends and telling you, you need to go take care of that, however you choose to do that. And then they turn around and they say, well, I fucking know. You don't think I've, been planning to do that, and then I just don't do it? Like me, like I work on like equipment and I work outside and stuff, and I just like, my fingernails grow so fast. And my hair grows fast too. But they, of course, your fingernails grow. They get dirt under them because you're working on dirty stuff. And you're like, that's not good. You don't want dirty fingernails. It's uncleanly, unhygienic. And you're like, I got to cut those. And then you just plan on doing it and you don't. Just something comes up and something comes up and something comes up, and you'd rather do something else, and you don't want to get up and you don't want to do that. Kind of like this podcast. This podcast is cutting my this podcast is brushing my teeth. No, this podcast is cutting my fingernails. It's something I know I need to do for me, but I just kept putting it off. And I'm glad I got out here and spent some time with you guys. And I hope to do it more in the future. Now, whether you took away any value from this, I don't know. But one thing you can walk away knowing is that I'm alive. I'm semi-sane still, so that's good. We're on the right track there. Well, I'm really cold. Like I said, I enjoyed it. Hope this wasn't too boring. Tell me if it was, so I can beat myself up about it. But I look forward to next week's episode. Maybe have somebody in here, maybe not. Maybe have a little bit more structure to this. Maybe not. Might just get out here and ramble a little bit, just like I did tonight, because this felt real good. Just hanging out. Just kicking back. But I'll let y'all go. I know y'all got busy lives and lots to do and important things to take care of, and I'm just a facet for your entertainment. No, I get it. You've got plans. You've got stuff to do. I get it. Big plans guy over here. Can't listen to me talk anymore, so nah. It was good. It was fun. This is Kickback. And we're fucking back, baby. Let's go.